Judy and I are joined by Susan Elizabeth Littlefield all day on WIS. She's been bringing us stories of families, Midlands families, and their journeys through grief.
Yeah, you know, guys, I wanted to tell these stories because so often here on WIS we report about death. We want now to talk about the story that begins when a life ends. It is such a personal subject, and the person sitting right here, my friend Judy, Bit's friend, right in between us, she allowed me to share with you how her family found the good in grief. She hasn't seen this story yet. Now she is going to watch it together with all of you. Just about anywhere little Aiden Gatson goes, you'll find his mom a few steps behind. And his dad is typically within arm's reach.
That's my big boy. Very good. Also today at 5.
You know Judy Gatson as someone who is on TV.
Mommy's going to put hers right there.
But she is now playing an off-camera role, the role of her life.
Patience, please. Patience, please. Thank you.
Patience is a theme in the Gatsons' lives. The principal first came into play on their first date.
Dwayne invited me for lunch. Some people will be surprised that I was running a little bit late, but I got there.
4 hours late for lunch.
So I got there around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a little late.
Turns out patience is Dwayne's strong suit, and the young Army captain proposed to the Georgia Tech college student.
We've always wanted to have a family. The biggest challenge was talking Judy down from, 7 to 10 children.
And it took some patience to get started on that dream.
We had been trying for a while, and, when we finally got pregnant, we were so excited, and, Dwayne was... I told Essie about how you were having me weigh in every week to see how much weight I had gained.
It was 2005, and the two were commuting back and forth. Dwayne worked at the Pentagon in D.C. Judy was climbing the ranks at WIS alongside her close friend, Kara Gormley. Turns out the two had more in common than on-camera talent.
So I called her up, and I said, Jude, you're not going to believe this, in my little corner. She said, what, girl? And I said, I'm pregnant. She said, you're not going to believe this. And I said, what? She goes, I'm pregnant too. I couldn't believe it. Just floored. And she hadn't told anybody yet.
The secret started getting tough to keep. And about 5.5 months in, belly to belly, the two friends went public, telling WIS viewers the greatest news they'd ever heard.
I can't believe we're pregnant at the same time.
I know, and due within days of each other. These two women at WIS are going to have these beautiful new babies in a matter of months, and it could even be in the same week on the same day. And then things changed.
Well, it's one of those things that you sense in your spirit before you realize it, because I was talking, but everybody else in the room, the doctor and the assistant, they were quiet, girl. They were silent. And I'm like, why are they not talking? Why are they not saying anything?
The room was silent because of what they did not hear. Baby Deuce Gatson no longer had a heartbeat.
Dr. Hannah was heartbroken, the whole nursing staff, everybody. And to have to call Dwayne and tell him was just, girl.
There was nothing wrong with him.
Not one thing.
Not one thing wrong with him. It was just that kink in that cord.
Judy still had to deliver. The next day, she was induced, and her baby boy made a brief but powerful appearance into this world, and a chaplain joined them in prayer.
She says, I know that it may seem awkward right now in the moment to take pictures of him. She says, but trust me, you will want them later. And she was right.
After a funeral in Atlanta, Judy packed her bags and went to D.C. to mourn with her husband. It was what could have been a one-way trip.
I just felt like, my God, I can never go back on the air. I can never face anybody in South Carolina again. I can just not deal with this, in such a public way.
So she did what many grievers do. She tried to do it in private. She tried to do it alone. She spent day after day in tears, printing and reprinting photos of her baby at a local CVS.
Through reading the Bible and reading scriptures, and girl, just praying all the time and just trying to gain some understanding, I realized that was exactly what God did not want me to do, was to put it away in a box and try and move away and forget about it. That He did want me to just pour it out and share it with others. as a way to comfort them.
What also helped, the comfort she got from the people she was afraid to face again. She says WIS viewers sent hundreds of cards, and the prayers, she'll never be able to count those.
Going through it in such a public way, kind of in a weird way, ended up being a blessing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it obviously became a testimony.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's touched so many. You know, because we, you know, with the testimony, you're able to touch others, and they can feel the empathy.
It was the new mission that made the Gadsens decide that together they would come back home to South Carolina.
I was reluctant to come back because, like you mentioned, Kara was pregnant. And so I didn't want the sadness of our loss to overshadow the joy that she was experiencing. So we had to struggle with that.
That's Judy, right? Always thinking about other people before herself, even in such a tragic time. And, you know, that just describes the type of person that she is.
After Kara gave birth to little Dalton, Judy came back to work. And the woman who shares stories for a living had a new one to tell.
There are no shortcuts in grief. I mean, you have to stand in it. You have to own it. You have to allow yourself to work through those emotions. And then you can move forward a step at a time.
These days, moving forward looks a lot like this. Last year, Judy and Dwayne adopted Aiden Cash.
You look at him, and you can see not only, I believe, us, but you can see our first child. I mean, if you've ever seen Deuce, you know, they look alike.
She deserves a happy ending, and it doesn't get any happier than that family right now. Judy, Dwayne, and Aiden Cash.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will really show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
And even though the pain may never fully leave the Gadsens' home, thanks to some patience, the joy has fully arrived.
Then your face will really show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Judy, you didn't have to tell anyone this story, and you wanted to tell our viewers because you wanted to help them.
Well, and when you talked to me about this, I guess it was a month or two ago, time is just, you know, lost all sense of that. But, you know, I had told you I had talked about it around the community at different churches, but obviously putting it on TV is a you know, whole different thing. But I knew you would do such a beautiful job with it because we are such good friends, and you and I have had so many conversations, and I knew your heart was in the right place to use this story to encourage others. And so that was really my prayer tonight, because I know that when people are dealing with grief and loss, you can feel so lost in that, and you can get so wrapped up. You know, you and I were talking about depression and other things that they can set in, or you can, you know, take ownership of that. And so I just want people to feel empowered, encouraged, and to use this journey to help build and grow their faith.
And I have to tell you one more thing. I think Deuce's spirit is in the studio tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you,
It is. It is.
There are no, the one line that sticks out to me that you said, I've never heard this before, there are no shortcuts in grieving.
There aren't. There aren't.
You know, thinking of Dwayne in that situation, my gut instinct is that men in a lot of these situations take the shortcuts in grieving more so than a woman would, especially in a situation, you know, you move on.
You move on. And Dwayne being a military man, you know, you deal with stuff, you handle it, and you move forward. And I think one thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, Ben, because Susan and Elizabeth and I have talked about this, men and women grieve in different ways.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would come home, and, you know, Dwayne went back to work at the Pentagon, and he was handling, you know, important business up there for the Secretary of the Army and all of that, and he would come home, and I would be pouring my eyes out crying, but it was therapeutic for me. Yeah. And one day he just said to me, I need you to know that just because I don't cry the way that you cry, I'm still grieving too. And so that even brought us even closer together.
His own way. Well, you guys have inspired us as your friends, and I'm sure people watching tonight. And we want people to know, too, that on our website we have some resources for anyone going through grief. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, sweetie. I love you.
And thank goodness for Aiden. Thank goodness for Aiden in that story, because
the Aiden of joy.
You and Dwayne deserve the happy ending.
Oh, gosh. And he is joy, 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 I tell you.
Yeah. Thanks so much. And we will be right back.